Marriage is a relationship of extraordinary care. I want to repeat this one more time. This is the last time you're going to see this. It's what we expect to give and expect to receive when we marry. Extraordinary care can be expressed as three essential goals of marriage. If these goals are achieved, your marriage will be terrific. But if you fail to achieve even one of these three goals, your marriage will become a nightmare, or has been a nightmare if these goals have not been achieved in your marriage. The first goal of marriage is to create a lifestyle that's fulfilling for both of you. Now, the reason that I want you to do that is because you're going to be able to deposit love units in each other's love banks with just the way you live. The house you own is going to deposit love units in each other's love banks. The career you have is going to deposit love units in each other's love banks. The car you drive, the way you live. When you wake up in the morning, you're going to say, this is a good day. And who's going to be right next to you? Your spouse. If you want to have a great life, that is one of the most important things you can do to create a great marriage, as long as it is mutual. You achieve this goal by following the policy of joint agreement whenever you make lifestyle decisions. The reason the policy of joint agreement is so important is because it's the only way you'll be able to create a lifestyle that is mutually enjoyable. And you're going to have to practice. You'll have to practice the policy of joint agreement and the 4 guidelines for successful negotiation until you get to a point where it is effortless. How long did it take for you to learn to type? It'll take you less time to learn the policy of joint agreement effectively, and it'll be a skill that is probably more important to you than typing. And I got to tell you, typing is probably the most important thing I learned in high school. So if you learn how to negotiate effectively, you will find it well worth the effort. The second goal of marriage is to avoid being each other's source of unhappiness. Don't look at your spouse and say, of all the people I know, this is the person that upsets me the most. Don't say that of each other, because make sure it isn't true. When you avoid being each other's source of unhappiness, you avoid making love bank withdrawals. And as great a lifestyle as you might have, with everything you've got, all the pieces in your life, if they are all working out great and you've still got love busters in your life, you're still going to be withdrawing love units and you won't have a romantic relationship. You achieve this second goal by overcoming these love busters, these 6 love busters that I talked about. Selfish demands, disrespectful judgments, angry outbursts, dishonesty, annoying behavior, annoying habits, and independent behavior. The third goal of marriage is to become each other's greatest source of happiness. Probably why you married, because you already were each other's greatest source of happiness while you were dating. When you are each other's greatest source of happiness, you make the largest love bank deposits. You break through the romantic love threshold, and you end up having the feeling of incredible attraction for each other. And you achieve this by meeting each other's most important emotional needs, especially the intimate emotional needs. So, what happened to Joan and Mike? We kind of lost Joan and Mike somewhere in the middle. Well, Joan and Mike went through this entire program with me. They actually learned how to create a lifestyle that they created with enthusiasm, something that they hadn't done right from the very first day they were married, right on their honeymoon. They identified each other's most important emotional needs, and they identified love busters. That was part of the program that I had, just like you're doing. And they agreed to meet each other's important emotional needs and overcome love busters. And then they learned to become experts at meeting those needs and avoiding love busters. They became experts at being married to each other. Something I'd like you to do. I'd like you to become an expert. When they became experts, they fell in love with each other and remain in love to this day. Here's a couple that hated each other, and now they love each other. And they have a happy family. because they stopped doing the very destructive things that they were doing to ruin their marriage, and they started doing the things that I call extraordinary care. How can you fall in love and stay in love? Well, you've already identified each other's most important emotional needs and love busters. The next step is to agree to meet each other's most important emotional needs and overcome love busters. I want you to actually agree to it. I want you to say, yes, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to meet your most important emotional needs, and I am willing to overcome love busters on the condition that you agree to do the same. Remember, I believe in negotiating, and negotiating requires give and take. You got to get something for what you give. It's not free. But I want you to agree together. I want you to say, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. That's the only way it's going to work. So, we've got the Memorandum of Agreement. Look on page 61. From the wife's Love Busters questionnaire, find the list of love busters that are causing her unhappiness. Now, look on page 61. And then write them in order of their rank in the blank space on page 75, where it says the husband will, in both the husband and wife's copy of the Memorandum of Agreement. Can you find it? Can you see it? Go to page 61. This is where the wife's Love Busters questionnaire is, 61. And then look on page 75, and that's where you write it, under what the husband's going to do. So first of all, write what the husband's going to do on both of your memorandums of agreement. From the husband's love bank questionnaire on page 71, find the list of love busters that are causing him unhappiness and write them in the order of their rank on the blank spaces on 75, where it says the wife will, in both the husband and wife's copies of the Memorandum of Agreement. We'll take 2 or 3 minutes to do that. Are you ready for the next step? From the wife's emotional needs questionnaire on page 73, find her 5 most important emotional needs. And then write them in the blank spaces on page 77, where it says that the husband will, in both the husband and wife's copies of the Memorandum of Agreement. And then from the husband's emotional needs questionnaire on 73, find his 5 most important emotional needs and write them in the blank spaces on page 77, where it says the wife will do whatever it is, in both the husband and wife's copies. This will take us about 5 minutes. Titled Ranking of Emotional, on the loose sheet in your syllabus entitled Ranking of Love Busters and Emotional Needs. It's white. I'd like you to copy the ranking you used for Love Busters on page 61 and the emotional needs on page 73. Now this is just for yourself. Your Love Busters and your emotional needs and the ranking on that sheet of paper, and fill out the part on the top where it has your name. Syllabus Marital Problem Analysis. On the loose sheet, Marital Problem Analysis. I believe there are 2 pages. One is your marital problem analysis, and the second is counseling history. Now, we would like both of those sheets filled out, but right now, fill out just the marital problem analysis. And I don't think we'll have time for you to fill out completely the counseling history, but we would like to get that from you eventually. So that's something I would like to have so that we can understand what you have tried already and how well it's worked. But right now, just put the marital problem analysis, because in a sense, this sort of sets up your goals and what it is you need to work on first. It helps us work with you in creating a program that's going to be most suitable for your particular situation. We're now ready for the next part of this program, and that is to sign your agreement. sign your agreement. So as husband and wife, if you both agree to become an expert husband and wife, sign both copies of the Memorandum of Agreement on page 78. And that means that each of you should have a copy to remind you what you've agreed to this day, which is extraordinary care. You've agreed to provide extraordinary care to each other. Our whole program here is a program of change. And what we want to do is we want you to change for each other. Change as your needs change as your sensitivities change. That's an important part of having a great marriage. Well, how can you fall in love and stay in love? You've already identified each other's most important emotional needs. And you've identified each other's love busters. You've just agreed to meet each other's most important emotional needs and overcome love busters. Now what's left is becoming skilled in meeting each other's most important emotional needs and overcoming love busters. As I said before, attending this particular seminar isn't going to do the trick. Coming here for the weekend, you got an overview of what is yet to be done. It has not yet been done. When you get home, you will have not overcome your habit of making demands on each other. You will not have overcome your habit of being disrespectful. You will not have overcome your habit of angry outbursts. You will have not learned how to meet each other's emotional needs for intimate conversation, for affection, for recreational companionship, for sexual fulfillment. These are things that you're going to be learning to do in the weeks and months to come. And we're going to help you learn to achieve those objectives. And when that's been done, you will fall in love and stay in love. We guarantee that. We guarantee it. We've had a lot of people come through this program, and everyone that has completed the program, which means that they have actually achieved those objectives under our supervision, have been in love. And we've measured it. We have tests that measure whether or not that's achieved. We use the tests. We give you one test every month, which is the Love Bank inventory, and then we give you the other test every 6 months. And we look at these tests, and if you are slipping in any of them, we become alarmed. We're your coach. We're supposed to make sure that you're successful, and we want you to be successful. And those little tests that you turn back are kind of like achievement tests. They tell us how you're coming along. Your ultimate achievement is for you to be in love with each other. The How to Fall in Love and Stay in Love follow-up courses. There's a His Needs, Her Needs course, and there's the Love Busters course. The His Needs, Her Needs course goes through all of the material in His Needs, Her Needs. It talks about the 10 important emotional needs. And the Love Busters course goes through the Love Busters, and it also covers the issue of how to create a lifestyle that is enjoyable for both of you. Each lesson focuses attention on a particular type of marital problem. The lesson assignment booklet for each course explains how to complete each lesson. The interesting thing about the forum is that other people can gain from your experience. And you can read the questions that others are writing as they're going through these lessons. If you'll notice, when you read the questions that are asked on the first lesson, the very first lesson on His Needs, Her Needs, the most common question is, my spouse isn't doing the lesson. What should I do? And that becomes our problem to some extent. We have people whose job it is to try to encourage your spouse to participate. Remember, I said that we expect almost every couple to have one spouse that is more or less on board and another spouse that is what we call the reluctant spouse. I will say this, that the person who is reluctant often switches during the course. In other words, we may start with one spouse as the reluctant spouse, and 3 months into the program, the other spouse is the reluctant spouse. But there's usually one spouse that isn't quite on board, and that is one of our biggest problems. What will make you successful is for both of you to go through this program together with a certain amount of enthusiasm and commitment. And you'll see that the whole thing works a lot slicker when you do it that way. Lesson number 1. The purpose of this lesson is to help you schedule enough time to restore a romantic relationship, a very tough first assignment. Your first assignment is to actually schedule 15 hours for you to be together. Now, as I said before, don't expect your first 15 hours to be heavenly. Matter of fact, you may find that you're going to experience a lot of the things that you had feared, i.e., that you're at risk for getting into an argument, you hurt feelings, person does and says something that upsets you. That is extremely common. The problem that we have is that in order to achieve the objectives we have for you, you have to set aside the time so that you can practice during that time. If you don't practice during that time, you'll never become an expert. So what will happen is that you'll get better and better and better at being the kind of person that your spouse will really enjoy being with during those 15 hours. The goal is for that 15 hours to be the best of your week. And you have to be together, and you have to give each other undivided attention, and it's the best of the week. That's the goal. And you have to be doing the things that we encourage you to do. You have to be affectionate. You have to be talking intimately. Your intimate conversation cannot be arguing. It can't be arguing. It has to be enjoying your conversation. It has to be something that you do as a form of depositing love units. If you find yourself withdrawing love units, whatever it is you're doing, quit doing it. Complete the personal history questionnaire that's in your workbook on your way home today. You have that at the end. Those of you that are from other states can do it on the plane. Those of you that live here in the Twin Cities, I don't know that doing it in the car is such a great idea. But one way or another, get that thing completed and give it to each other. Give that completed personal history questionnaire to talk about when you get home. I want you to know more about each other. And this is a questionnaire that I've used as a clinician. This is something I made up, I created, to help me understand my clients better. And I want to give it to you so that you can understand each other better. I want you to know what a counselor would know about you after you fill this thing out. Because to me, it's been tragic that a lot of the people that I see, I end up knowing more about them than their spouse did, simply because I read this questionnaire and nobody had ever asked them these questions before. So what I'd like you to do right now, at this very moment, is to schedule time for the first lesson. Right now. Schedule time for your first lesson. When are you going to do it? You'll need about 3 hours each week to do each lesson. Now, this is not the 15 hours. This is the time to do the lesson. It is going to be part of the 15 hours, however. You can count it. But it's not 15 hours that you have to schedule right now. This is the 3 hours where you're going to think about what you're going to do during those 15 hours. You'll need 3 hours. And if you schedule the same 3 hours, it'll be easier to remember. And if you don't start the first lesson this coming week, there's a 50-50 chance you'll never complete any of the lessons. If you get started this week, there's a good chance that you're going to be able to get through this in good shape. And so I want you to take a few minutes right now to schedule that time with each other for the first lesson. We'll take 2 or 3 minutes. When can you talk? Lesson is next. After you do the first lesson, everybody's supposed to do the first lesson. It depends on your priorities and what you want to achieve. Who's the reluctant spouse? Begin with that person's priorities first. If you've already identified in your relationship who the reluctant spouse is, that's the person that should choose the second lesson. But if you don't know, if you're both reluctant, flip a coin. And then alternate lessons. Let each of you pick the lesson in alternate ways. Some lessons prepare you for other lessons, so you may not be able to begin with your highest priority.